Hello, everyone, and welcome to our live webinar on retention versus churn, how smart ad strategies reduce customer drop off. We are thrilled you could join us today. My name is Folakemi, and I'll be your host. Before we get started, if you have any questions during the presentation, drop them in the chat at any time, and we'll have a dedicated question and answer session towards the end. Today's session is led by Mr. Oluwakayode Jegede, who is the CEO of Advanta, and he will share practical strategies for turning one-time customers into loyal long-time ones. By the end of this session, you would know how to identify churn risk and how smart ad campaigns can help keep customer engaged. So please join me in welcoming Mr. Kayode to the virtual stage.
Hello, everybody. How are we doing today? So, I'm not be sharing my video for the rest of the class, or the session, but um, I'll make sure it's worth your time, right? Now, just like I've been introduced, my name is Kayode, right? And today we're going to be discussing retention versus churn and how to use paid ads to actually increase your retention rate and reduce churn. Can everybody confirm that they can hear me? Can you confirm that you can hear me? Awesome, awesome. Can you also confirm that you can see my screen? Right. Okay. I'm liking the energy from this class, and I really like to. So whenever let me use the word teach, or whenever I'm opportuned to sort of talk a bit about marketing, I usually like to do it in a different way, right? So this might not be the usual, webinar that you're used to. So let me quickly run some introduction and maybe some of the reasons why you should not listen to what I have to say, right? Because I mean, who am I in the grand scheme of things, right? So my name is Kayode. Jegelo Kayode is my full name, and I've worked with a couple of businesses. And I started marketing because I was hungry with my dad for not giving me pocket money consistently. So I figured that, okay, I needed to make money when I was in university. I studied in the University of Ilorin. So I figured I needed to make money. So I saw that, okay, being very popular in the university, I was, involved in politics, student politics, and had a lot of contact. I had about 10,000 contact on my phone that time. So I figured, okay, I can actually push um, brand or small businesses to, this is my 10,000 audience and just make money from it, right? And the first, um, um, let me use the word ad or gig I got, yeah, was I was actually paid 3,000 naira. I'll never forget. I was paid 3,000 naira as far back as 2017 thereabout, right? And I used 1,005 to buy suya. Right, I will never forget it in my life. I used 1,005 to buy suya. Right. Anyways, over the last couple of years, I've then been able to work with some brands, right? Like Access Bank, MTN, DSTV, Money Africa, Treford, Adverse, right? And in the last 7 years thereabouts, I've also spent about 1 billion naira on ads. All right, so I think I have a couple of things to say based on what I've experimented with. Um, right, and I've also been featured on a couple of publications like Vanguard, Punch, Business Day, blah blah blah. I also run a growth and media agency, right, and I also run like another digital out of home platform. So maybe because of this, you might want to listen to a bit of what I have to say. Again, if you think that this profile is too small, nah, I might not really know what I'm saying, you can just say, oh, let me leave this call use paid ads to actually fight churn. You have come to the right place. Now, when I joined a particular company a couple of years ago, right? And I think this is a good time to turn on my camera, right? So when I joined a startup a couple of years ago, I found out that they had 95% churn rate. Imagine you have 100 people using your software, and 95 of them are no longer active, and you don't know. Just imagine that kind of thing. And when in fact, the reason why I got to know, because I wasn't supposed to be in charge of that. I was supposed to just lead the general marketing and communications team, but I needed to understand a couple of things about the business. So I asked, okay, do you have like a CRM or a product analytics tool or something? And they didn't have. So somebody in the product team just mentioned that, oh, they have one dashboard like that they use to sort of do a couple of things. So I requested for the dashboard, and I saw it. And when I filtered based on active customers, like customers that paid, um they have paid that particular year, because I joined mid-year. So I said, how many customers have paid this year? I sort of filtered, and I saw that 95% of them have not paid. They've not reactivated their subscription. And it was crazy. And this company, you might guess the company, but I mean, I don't really care. So this company spends a lot of money on acquiring, or just running ads, trying to acquire more customers, acquire more customers and things like that, right? And one of the things that I figured was, look, you have over 1,000 previous previous, let me use the word customers, right? I mean, they're no longer customers, but let's just use the word customers. You have over 1,000 customers. I think at about 1,500 and something at that time. 95% of them are no longer active. Was it not just wise to spend money reactivating these guys and getting them to come back, instead of spending so much money trying to acquire more users, right? And I thought about that, but again, you know how startups and founders are now, right? I'm also a founder, so I mean we can be quite stubborn, right? But that was like what was in my head, and I tried to convince management, let's do like this, but I mean, anyways. So at that point, that got me thinking, and I started experimenting um, with other things, with like other businesses that I consult for, on how we can actually use paid ads to reactivate customers and get them to come back over and over again, right? And that's when I figured out a lot of things, right? So today I'll be talking a lot on Uber strategy and things like that, because the kind of business I run now, the model is very similar to Uber. So I've done a lot of time studying Uber and how they do marketing and things like that. So I'm going to be doing a lot of, I'm going to be speaking a lot on Uber today, right? So first things first, what is even retention? Let's start from the basics. What is retention? I'm sure that you guys are like excellent marketers. You have done a lot of things, but let's start from the basic. What exactly is retention? It's simple. It's just the percent of customers who are using your product over a period of time, right? So if you have 100 customers, right, and 95% of that, or 95 of that, have used your product over the next, like in the last 6 months or thereabout, you can just say, oh, my retention is this, or my retention rate is this, right? It's as simple as that. Churn is then the opposite of retention. So churn is percentage of customers who have stopped using your product over a period of time, right? For instance, I'm a churned customer of Uber, because this year I don't think I've used Uber at all, right? Um, but I wouldn't exactly say I'm a churned customer of, let's say, Bolt or InDrive, because a lot of time I still try to check out Bolt and InDrive once in a while, right? If I need to, probably whatever, right? So I'm going to be explaining, because a lot of people think that a churned user is somebody that has just stopped totally, which yes might be true in some cases, but I'm going to show you when we get to segmentation and life cycle, basically life cycle segmentation, on how you can actually segment these guys, right? Somebody who have stopped using your product might not exactly be a churn user, right? I'm going to explain that later on. Anyways, just understand that retention is growth. The more customers, the more users you're able to retain, the better for you. And then churn is death. So you can tweet that retention is growth, churn is death. You can tag go me if you want. So retention is growth, churn is death. If you want to keep your company alive, if you want to make sure that you're making money, just figure out a way to make your customers happy and keep them on your product. I hope that is understood. Now, how do we then calculate? So we're going to be doing a lot of calculations too, right? Because marketing is also about mathematics, a bit of mathematics. So how do we then calculate what retention is and what changes? I'm sure that some of you guys already know. It's simple. The calculation is very simple. Retention rate is simply calculated as the customers at the end of a period minus the new customers you have acquired over that period divided by the number of customers you started with times 100. So let's put it in context, right? So I like to make this class very interesting. So I'm going to be calling who can I call? I like this name, Trust Akingoye. Hi Trust Akingoye. Can you unmute your mic for a bit? Can you hear me? Can anybody hear me? Okay. Can you unmute your mic? Okay, Daniel, are you opportunity to unmute your mic?
Yes, sir, I can. Thank you so much.
Awesome. What do you do, sir?
I am a developer myself.
You're a developer.
Yes, sir.
Oh, interesting. So do you do anything marketing?
Not really, but it's something that I'm very interested in. Like I hear about it, and I know it's a very notable skill that propels one's business.
Awesome.
Something like
So let's just use you for an instance, right? So imagine you run a company or a business or you're in marketing or whatever it is, right? You have built okay, you're a developer, so you have built a software. And in January of that year, you have 1,000 users, right? By by December, right, you then have or by December you have been able to acquire say 5,000 additional users. Are you with me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Awesome. Now, if you want to calculate your retention rate, how will you do that? So based on the formula that I've just given you, customers at the end of that period minus the new customers divided by customers at the start of the period times 100. So again, you started off the year with 1,000 users. January 2025, you started with 1,000 users. By December 2025, you have acquired 5,000 additional users. How do you calculate? Um, how do you calculate what your retention is? And just imagine that okay, at the end of that December, you probably have maybe let's use 3,000 customers. So how would you calculate
Okay.
your retention or 3,000 users, whatever it is? How would you calculate your retention?
So that'll
1,000,
be
3,000. Yeah, let's go.
okay. Okay. So that'll be customers at the end of the period. That's 3,000. Then then the new customers. You said the customers acquired with at
Yeah,
3,000.
you acquired
3,000.
5,000 additional users.
Okay. 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 But I started with 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay. So that means the customers at the end of the period will be 6,000. So
Okay.
6,000 minus the new customers acquired, that's 5,000. So that'll be
Okay.
1,000 divided by customers at the start of the period is 1,000. So
Okay.
that's 1,000 divided by 1,000 times 100. That'll be 100% retention rate.
Customers at the end, the
O-
customers.
Okay. At the end of the period.
That is three. I said when by December you only have 3,000 customers.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you said I acquired 5,000.
So you get the idea now. So it's basically mine exactly. So yeah, you get it. So that's simply how to calculate your retention. So it's just customers that you have at the end of that a particular period. So it can be 6 months, it can be 3 months, it can be any number of whatever the duration is, right? Minus how many customers have you acquired over that period divided by how many customers you started with, right? Times 100. It's as simple as that, right? So
Okay.
again, if you maybe if you have 1,200 customers in maybe like 1 year, but in that 1 year you only acquired 3,300 customers, right? And you started year with maybe 1,000, right? So that's just 1,200 minus 300 divided by 1,000 times 100, right? Now,
Okay.
yeah, perfect. So churn rate is just the opposite of it, like I said. So how many customers have you lost divided by customers at the beginning of that period times 100, right? So hope you guys get that. Please, if you want to take a screenshot of this, please do that before we move forward. If you're enjoying this, if you're enjoying this so far, can I just see, like, maybe in the comments, just type. So we're going to be typing Gomela, right? So I'm going to be asking you to type in letters. So let's start from G. Let's start from G, right? So if you're enjoying this so far, just type in G. Just type in G. Let's go. Okay. I can see Gabo Yusuf. I can see Folakemi. Awesome. So we're going to, the next one I'm going to ask, we're going to be typing O, right? Okay. So now that we totally get that, we're going to be going a little bit deeper. Now, amazing thing is, if you want your churn rate to be zero, all you just need to do is have zero customers. Like, it's as simple as that, right? This is one of the memes that we used to sort of taunt ourselves. If you want our taunt people that imagine that they will have zero churn rate. Zero churn rate is maybe not possible, right? But I mean, it's not as if it's impossible. It's not possible. Let's not lie, because it's not possible. Even Uber, Spotify. Think about any big amazing company. They have they have churn rate. But the thing is, what you just need to do as a marketer is just figure out how I can reduce my churn rate. It's as simple as that, and increase my retention rates, right? So the question then is, why does retention really matter? I'll give you two reasons. Number one is that it is 5 to 25 times more expensive to acquire one customer than to retain a customer. So if you want to say, for instance, okay, I'm going to be using my business. So at Advanta, we help businesses sort of place ads. So think about your normal billboards or your normal digital billboards, but in like places where customers or people spend a lot of time. So salons, gyms, and things like that, right? So imagine you're able to place ads in those places. That's what we essentially do. So there's a software where you can quickly create your campaign, just like as if you are creating Facebook ads, but instead of it running on social media, it's running in real places, right? So that's what we do. You also get like analytics, blah blah blah, and things like that. Now, let me give you an example. If we are to acquire a user, now I'm going to be starting from user because there's a way we have segmented it. So we have users and then we have advertisers. So advertisers are people that have given us money, right? Now, to acquire a user right now, it costs us about 500 plus about 10,000 naira, right? To acquire just one user, no, actually, to acquire a user cost us 5,000 something, a user, just like somebody to sign up on our platform, right? About 5,400 or 5,500, right? 5,500 actually, right? Now, to then get them to take that first action of creating a campaign, it then takes us extra money. So that's like 10,000 naira. So to acquire one customer for us currently, we have to spend 10,000 naira. So to acquire 10 customers, we spend 100,000 naira. Now, imagine we then have that 10 customers. So please follow me. This is where we go into a bit of calculation, right? So let's use this. Cost of acquisition is what? 10,000 naira, right? Like cost of CAC, our cost of acquisition is 10,000 naira. Now, if a customer, right, spends, or an advertiser spends in a year 500K. So in a year, 12 months, they spent 500K, and we spent 10,000 naira to acquire that person. Now, if we have 10, right? Please don't miss this. If we have 10, that means that 10 would give us 500,000 naira times 10, which is 5 million, correct? Good. So from 10 customers, we can make 5 million naira. However, we have spent 100,000 naira to acquire them. Perfect. Now, let's say the next year, we didn't have to do that same thing again to acquire customers again. another 10 customers. It doesn't make sense. Well, instead of spending 100,000 naira, all you just need to do is do a couple of retention hats or whatever, and get those 10 that you have before to spend another, even if it's not 500,000, even if it's just 250K each, right? That would make more sense than spending another 100,000 naira to acquire new set of customers. So, right. So the idea is it basically costs us more money to keep acquiring customers. If you want to imagine we then need to acquire say 10,000 customers, right? It's a lot of money, right? To do that. So all we just need to do is make sure that we retain a percent, even if it's not the 10 of them, even if it's 5 of them we're able to retain, that makes more sense, right? And another reason, number two reason is that if we can increase the retention rate just a little bit, the company or the business would see a profit increase of 25 to 95%. There's an increase. If we just do 5% increase in retention, we can actually raise profits. Sorry, just a minute. Just a minute. As I was talking about Atlanta, one of our clients just called. Okay, sorry about that. Um, what was I saying? Yeah. So I'm talking about profit. I'm not talking about revenue. There's a difference between revenue and profit. So you need to be able to, you know, the idea is just if we can increase retention rate by just 5%, would actually see an increase in profit by what? 25 to 95%. You can do the calculation on that. Right now, those are like the two major reasons why retention is very, very important. Right now, don't forget that we're not talking about retention or churn or really. We're actually talking about how to use paid ads to actually increase your retention and reduce churn, right? So I'm going to be talking on two major things, right? On how I've personally done this, right? I'm going to be talking on two major things. The first is life life cycle segmentation, and the next is the channels and retention hacks. Those are the two major things I'm going to be talking about, right? So if you're still with me, please put in the chat O. I think we have done G, so let's do O now. If you're still with me and you're enjoying this so far, right? I think our retention rate is 100% so far. We've been at 7 people since the beginning, right? So retention rate 100%. Very good. Okay, so I can see O. If you're still with me, please type in O. If you're excited to learn about how I have actually done it, please put in O. Okay, I can see O. Awesome. So let's go a bit deeper. Now, if you want to do paid ads to increase retention, right? This is how I have actually done it. The first thing that you will need to do is think about your customers as in a bucket. So not all customers are the same, right? Not every single customer is the same, right? And there's a way, or let's use user for instance. Let's not use customer. Let's use users. Not all users are the same. There are some users that I've categorized them as the new users, right? New users. Then there's the active user. There's the at-risk user. There are the churned user, and there are the high-value users. I'm going to be explaining the difference between this, right? So that's the first thing I do. First of all, classify. Okay, I mean, if for instance I join a new company today, and maybe one of my strategies is retention, right? The first thing I will need to do is enter their dashboard, if they have analytics dashboard or whatever products, whatever analytics or whatever it is, right? I'll be then filter this filter their users into these 5 categories, right? The first category is the new user, people that just signed up, right? People that just signed up and they've taken their action, the first action. Don't forget that when you're working with an agency, app, for instance, maybe like an Uber, maybe you work in Uber, right? Somebody installing your app and signing up doesn't mean that they're a customer yet. They are just a user. And that's why I'm saying user, customer, user, customer. They are not the same thing, right? They are not the same thing. Users are just, okay, I think I should throw it. Let me throw it out. Who are users? Who are customers? Somebody wants to go? Should we go with Gabor Yusuf? What's the difference between a user and a customer? Anybody wants to try? Should I call names? Interesting. Nobody wants to try. Okay, because of time, let's just quickly run through. So your user is just somebody, again, from the word user, just uses your product. They are not essentially the one who pays. Then the customer, the person that actually pays the money, is your customer, right? So think about Netflix. When you sign up on Netflix, you can actually create 4 profiles and share your password. Those people who are using your password, like me now, like this now, I have like 3 or 4 people using my Netflix, right? Those ones are just users. Their behavior and everything is quite different from the customer, which is me, because I'm the one paying for it, right? If you also think about maybe Indomie noodles, say for instance, you're a mother, right? You have like 3 kids and all of those things. The user is the child, the person that eats the noodles. The person that is eating the Indomie is the user. The customer is the parent or the mother, right? I've actually bought it. So don't these people are very different. Right. So when I hear startups say, oh, we have 1 million users, perfect. You have 1 million users. How many of that are actually customers? Right? Is what because me, I'm a revenue guy, right? I like thinking about okay, so how much can we make from this thing? So don't forget that. Now, for new guys, people that just signed up or they've taking their first action, maybe you're still using the same example of or case study of Uber. Somebody that just signed up to Uber and take or have taken their first ride, we can categorize them as the new. Now, active would then be people that use your product regularly. So, example again for Uber is people that ride 3 to 4 times a week. So, if let's use Gomela for instance, and I'm sure that you guys know about Gomela already, right? So let's use Gomela for instance. People that probably send out campaign maybe twice a week can be categorized as active customers, right? People, because the reason why I'm saying customers are not users this time around is that by the time you send out a campaign, you're actually paying money, right? So anything that's tied to revenue, anybody that does action that's tied to revenue is your customer. Let's don't forget that. So if you send out maybe campaigns 2 or 3 times a week, right? I can categorize you as active what active um um customer. Let's go back to new. The new users can just be what people who just signed up to Gomela, but maybe they've sent out their first campaign, or maybe they've connected their domain or whatever to Gomela. Right now, at risk is you have been sending out maybe 3 campaigns weekly, right? And then you just notice that over the last maybe Q1, you were sending out a lot of emails or you were taking a lot of rides, right? And then I then noticed that that has actually slowed down. I'm seeing like a decline, right? I would categorize you at what as at risk. So maybe used to take like 7 trips a month before, and now you just take like only 2. You have not churned yet, and that's why I said you have to be very careful about who you would actually call churned users, right? For carry, let's use the example of carry wise. There's somebody that probably saves every week, right? Then they can go for like 1 month, and then the next month, maybe like in January they save 3 times, in February they don't save at all, in March they don't save, then they come back by the next month to save. Now you might make a mistake of categorizing that kind of person as a churn user. No, that person is probably at risk of churning. It's not yet churned, right? So people that are just slowing down in usage. Then you can then categorize the fourth category as churned users, people that have then stopped using your product for a while. So you can say maybe yearly, quarterly, 90 days, whatever it is, whatever your own definition of this thing is, right? For my own business, We'll categorize churned users as somebody that has not created a campaign in the last 12 months. Right. So if you have not created a campaign in the last 12 months, you have signed up, right? But you have not calculated, you have not, what am I saying calculated? You have not created a campaign in the last 12 months, you are a churned user, right? Again, at risk is maybe you used to create campaigns maybe twice in a quarter, right? And I noticed that in Q4 you created campaign, or in Q3 you created campaign only once, in Q4 once. I will know that okay, this person is most likely going to be churning very soon. So I would then have to do something about it, right? So when you're able to categorize, oh, finally, the high value users or customers. Now, the high value are the top 20% of customers that spend a lot of money, that you generate a lot of money from. For instance, Uber, those that probably use Uber maybe twice a day as they're going to the office, as they're coming back. Those guys are like high value to them, like super, super, super high value, right? So the top 20% of people that generate the most revenue for you are your high value guys. Now, these guys are not the same. So when you want to run your ads, you are not telling them the same thing. Don't forget that you are not running ads for acquisition this time around. You can run ads for acquisition, perfect. But this time around, you are trying as much as possible to run ads to your users. And that's why a lot of time you will see ads from Uber, you will see ads from Bolt on YouTube and things like that, right? Just telling you, oh, get 20% off and things like that. They are not trying to acquire you as a user any longer. They are now trying to make sure that you are retaining you. So those are retention ads. What they're trying to do there is they're trying to make sure that you don't churn as what? As a user. Is anybody still with me? Oh, Daniel has left the meeting. Why? Okay, Folakemi is still with me. Okay, Damilola is still with me. Awesome, awesome. Okay, so the first things first is you have to segment these guys, right? Because you are not running the same ads what to everybody, right? Now, okay, I would have actually loved to touch this, but because of time, I think we have like less than 15 minutes more. So I will just run through this. So now, when you have segmented your users, you might then want to be able to define what your North Star metric would be, right? And these are like the things that I like to touch on. Number one is 28 day to 90-day activation rate, right? So that is if maybe 1,000 users have signed up on Uber, for instance, how many will still take a ride after the first month? That's 28 days, and how many will still take after 3 months? So you want to know that. That's like one of your metric, right? Then you also want to calculate your resurrection. I like to use the resurrection power. That is the number of churned users that actually came back to you when you started your ads. So maybe for instance, you had 1,000 users, right? Out of that, 50 have churned, right? I say 50% has churned, maybe like that's 500, right? Now, when you started running your ads, how many percent of that actually came back to start using it again? You want to measure that. You then want to measure repurchase rates. How many of them are now buying over and over and over again? Yeah, they are giving you money over and over again. Time lapse or time between orders is basically how long does it take for that user to come back and then make that revenue purchase? For Gomela, when the person came back, how long did it then take for the person to create the first campaign and then push it out, right? Because that's whenever somebody sends a campaign, that's how you guys like that's how like the that's how the revenue is generated basically. Aside from automation and other things that's like subscription based, right? So you want to do that, or you can even be maybe for instance, it can be for automation subscription. For instance, when the person came back, yes, the person maybe created a couple of campaigns. How long then did it take for them to then subscribe again for automation or this or that, right? Then you want to also calculate your lifetime value and things like that, right? So these are like the important metrics that you want to what's it called, monitor. Now, when you're doing retention ads, right, you are not just saying how many people clicked. That's not your this thing. You are this is these metrics are your core. These metrics are your core. You are not calculating how many installs, how many can you can no. That's not what you are calculating. How many user new sign up in retention is these metrics that I talked about is what you are figuring out. Right? I spent 5,000 naira and I was able to bring back 50 people. They gave us back 1 million. That's what you want to look at. Right now, let's talk about the channels. Right, I like to use two different channels, like majorly when I'm doing retention ads. Right, retention ads, and the first is just basically Meta or social media, basically Meta, Snapchat, and then the second is Google. Right now, how it basically works is if you want to do your retention ads, how it works is you already have like your details of your user already. Right, just export that list or connect that your CRM to your ad manager, whatever you're using. If it's for Meta, if it's for Google, connect it so that it's going to be feeding it in information. So when you're selecting audience, you're not selecting a new interest and things like that. No, you're picking directly from your CRM. So don't forget that you have segmented them basically. So those segments are what you're going to plug in. So if you're running ads to your active or let's say at risk users, right? At risk users or customers, right? You are like that, that's your core audience. So if you are doing your Facebook ads to at risk user, plug your CRM in. When you're creating your campaign, pick the audience of at risk audience, right? And then do your normal ads that you used to do, right? It's as simple as that, right? So you might also want to do things like um people that actually have landed on your website and did XYZ and things like that, all of those re-engagement stuff, right? Then the kind of creative you are going to be pushing to each segment of these guys are very, very, very different. For your active users, what you're going to be telling your active is different from what you're going to be telling your churned users. For your churned users, you can be telling them, oh, we miss you, come back to our platform and get 50% off your first order, whatever it is. For new users, you're trying to push them to make the first purchase or make the first revenue, whatever your North Star is, right? So if I download Uber, if I'm downloading Uber for the first time, the kind of ads I'm going to be seeing from Uber would be take your first ride, take your first ride, take your first ride, right? If I'm an active user, right, they can tell me, oh, it can even be a referral that I'm going to be saying, oh, refer your friends to get 10% off your next ride. You see how this messaging are very different, right? If I am a churned user or if I'm at risk, they can tell me something like, take 10% off the next 5 trips, right? If I'm churned, come back, take a ride, and whatever it is, whatever offer you want to push in front of them, right? So that's it. So for Meta, just plug in your CRM, do all of these things. Now for Google, because Google is now like much broader retention and engagement, right? What you want to do is you have to do like what's the word now? Negative keywords, basically, right? Negative keywords of like, for instance, somebody searching between, say, okay, let's use I think Netflix versus what's the Prime. Let's use that. So you might want to then target people searching for Netflix versus Prime that is your user, because don't forget that you have plugged in your CRM, right? So things like that, you have to think about, okay, churn users, for instance, what are the things that they are searching for? Why did they churn? What are the things that they are looking for? And then you have to just target them based on that. Active customers, things like that. So don't forget the segment. So essentially, this is how I do it. Um, and again, the most important thing about all of your ads is this metrics part. So you are not checking out how many people visited our website, how many people installed our app, how many users. No, 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 no. You are figuring out your retention metrics, which are this thing: 28 to 90 day active rate, retention rate, repurchase rate, time between orders, and then lifetime value, right? So that some of the things that we want to touch on. So at this point, I'm going to be asking you to follow me, and then I'm going to be opening the floor to questions, right? So first of all, follow me across social media, Jegede Kayode, two underscore. You can also follow my company, Advanta.co. And if you have done that, please let's go on to questions. So I know that there will be a couple of questions that you want to ask. So in a couple of minutes, let's just take some questions and we'll be out of here. Questions. Any question? Okay, Folakemi.
Thank you so much for that insightful session. The question I actually wanted to ask was, how should small businesses
Okay.
with limited budget balance between acquiring new customers through ads and retaining existing ones? Their budgets are actually limited, so how should they actually balance that?
Perfect question. So, like I said, which one is more important, acquiring more or retaining the one that you have? The two is actually very important. But what you want to do is maybe sometimes you can do it 70-30. So maybe for this quarter, our focus would be on acquiring more customers. In Q2, for instance, our focus would then be on retention, right? Or maybe it can even be on activation because don't forget that I said there are some people that are new users and they've not taken that first step. So that's an activation process, right? Um, so you can say Q2, our focus would be on everybody has signed up, right? And they've not taken an action. Or okay, let's even use like the layman, whatever. All of the people that have made the inquiry but they've not bought. So you want to then retarget them. Then maybe Q3, your focus can then be okay, let's then everybody has bought from us before, how then to re-engage them again. So I'm not saying you should do like one should take the place of other. No, it is a which one is our priority for this quarter, and then you can spend much budget on that one, and then spend lesser budget on the other one. Right. So if I have a million naira budget, maybe every quarter, example, if I have a million naira budget every quarter for ads, in Q1, my strategy can be um more of retention. And the reason for retention, the reason why I said Q1 retention is in Q1, usually people don't spend a lot of money. So it's the new year, people are trying to, especially January, people don't spend a lot of money in January. So if I'm a business that sells maybe shoes, for instance, I might not get a lot of sales then, right? So I'm going to focus more on then retaining the ones that I already have. Oh, you have bought from me before, Abby. Perfect. I will then start doing a lot of reactivation and retention and okay, buy again from us and whatever, things like that, right? In Q2, I think that time people are then opening up, right, to spending. I can then do you get what I'm saying? So it's not a this is just a priority. Which one are you prioritizing for that particular quarter or for that particular month? You can then spend money on that. Make sense? Okay, awesome. Any other person has any question? Okay, no questions. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Over to you, Gumila.
Thank you so much for that insightful session. It was really knowledge packed. And I don't think I'll be forgetting your statements. Churn means death anytime soon. I think it's something I want to think of and reflect on for weeks and weeks to come. And to our attendees, thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, ads bring people in, but one of the best ways to actually keep them around is by email and SMS marketing. And GoMailer, our platform, helps you cut churn and keeps your customer coming back. So if you're ready to build stronger, lasting relationship with your customers, give GoMailer a try. And please remember that the recording for this session would be available after this session. I know I definitely want to rewatch this session over and over again just to have more knowledge and to grasp more all the knowledge that Mr. Jagede has shared with us. So do have a lovely week. Do have a lovely weekend, and we cannot wait to see you in our next webinar. Thank you so much for attending once again.